Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Eloise and this is Eloise Reads, and today I thought we would do my July wrap up. Now, July was a bit interesting for me. I read 9 books, 2 of them were DNFs, and I didn't like the majority of the books I read. I don't think. No. Yeah, well, I'm not very good at counting. I didn't like a lot of books I read this month, so we're going to start with the worst for me personally and get to the best, because I did read one book which is probably, no, I read a few good books, but one book is like one of my new favourites of the year. Yeah, so just to say, if I've disliked a book that you really like or anything, I don't mean to offend anyone or hurt anyone's opinions, etc. Hurt anyone's opinions? That doesn't make sense. I don't mean to offend anyone or upset anyone, it's just my personal opinion and we all have different tastes. And if we all like the same thing, it would be so boring. So yeah, so without any more waffle, let's get on with it. Let's start with the DNFs, and the first one I DNF'd after only 60 pages, which I don't really do. But I really didn't like it, and that is Arsenic and Adobo by Mia P. Manansala. So this was our book club pick for the month of July. I can't believe it's July, the end of July. I keep getting my months mixed up. And I bloody hated it. I have, as I said, I've had quite bad reading months, so it could have not been the book. I mean, I think it was the book a little bit, but I just genuinely wasn't feeling like reading and wasn't feeling it. So this is like the first in a cozy mystery type vibe. The main character, Lila, she goes to help her auntie's failing restaurant. The family are from the Philippines and there's descriptions of delicious food. Okay, I like descriptions of food, right? I love it, I love it. Like, I'm thinking of Alicia Fack, her writing in 10 minutes 38 seconds in this strange world. And when the descriptions of the food is incredible. The descriptions of food in this are lovely, right? But they are too much for me. They are on every page. There'll be like a chapter on food and I just like, okay, I appreciate the food. I love learning about different foods, etc. and like what goes into it, but it's too much in this book for me. Yeah. Secondly, this was the book we get to pick each month, and this did not sound up my street, so no discredit to the book. I just knew I wouldn't like it. Cozy mysteries, not something I ever read, ever feel like reading, and I was quite disappointed when this won because I knew it wouldn't be great for me. The writing in this, like, who am I to judge writing? Like, I'm definitely no expert, but the writing in this for me felt very not great. There's a lot of filler and the writing is not good in this, in my opinion. It's like, I did this, then I did this, I did this, carefully did this, I gently did this, I did this, and I was like, oh, and it was just irrelevant information. And yeah, as I said, I can't really comment on the story because it's 60 pages in. The person, her ex-boyfriend, who was a food critic, had gone into the restaurant, eaten something, and then ended up sadly dying. And so the Leela and her family are not accused, but are like, what's the word? I can't think of the word. This is not going well. There are suspicions around them and their food because he died in the restaurant. So yeah, that's all I know about the story, and yeah, sorry, I hated every page, so that was a DNF for me. The second DNF was a NetGalley read, so it was on my Kindle. It's been out for a while now. Like, I'm really bad with my NetGalley reads, so I was like, I'm going to read one that sounds really good, and hopefully I'll be back into reading on my Kindle, and that was The Dictionary of Lost Words by Pitt Williams, which I will post here. And yeah, basically it is based in, I can't think what century, but it's when the Oxford Dictionary was kind of like first being put together, and it was very interesting for a little bit about like how they got all the words and got all the descriptions like sent into them on little slips of paper and organised it. And we follow our main character whose name I can't remember. I want to say Elsie. it could be Elsie, I don't know. And she's a little girl and her father works there, and she's like really intrigued in the scriptorium where they do this work with the dictionary together. And I didn't read half, I reckon I read about 30% of it. And whilst it was interesting, it was so slow and so repetitive, and the word slip, so slip is what like people put in their words and explanations for the words on and send into the scriptorium. I reckon I read the word slip over like a million times, and if I read the word slip or scriptorium once more, I was going to lose my head. So yeah, it wasn't for me. If you like historical, detailed, well-researched historical fiction, then it may be for you, because fair play, the author did put a lot of research into it, but for me it was just too slow paced. I was very bored, and as I said, if I read the word slip once more, the book just no. So I had to sadly DNF that. Next is a book that you will have already seen if you watched my unhaul, and that is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nagan, and I gave this 1.5 stars out of 5. God, I read this so long ago now. Yeah, hated it. This is what I mean. What's wrong with me? Because this is so popular. It's like right up my street. I can't remember the main character's name. Lee. She is chosen to be a paper girl. So paper girls are girls that are basically picked to be concubines for the king, whether they get choice or not. And Lee does not want to be there, but for a lot of girls it's like a privilege and oh, I can't believe we've been chosen kind of thing. And it covers a really important topic of like these girls are basically forced to sleep with the king, and they are about 16, 17. So it does detail sexual assault and how the girls deal with it, and that was really important and quite refreshing to read in a fantasy, because I've not read what this book was based upon. But so that part I did like, and I liked the diversity of the book, but that was it for me. That was the only interesting part of the plot. Not a lot happens in the majority of this book. It's Lee and the other girls and her love interest going to like classes and talking and eating, and Lee desperately wanting to leave, but there's no action in this. I think there is in the last like 50 pages, but by then I just couldn't have cared less and skimmed through it. I will not be continuing the series. I've got the second book as well, and they've already got new homes, so I will be posting them to their new home soon, where I hope they are loved and thoroughly enjoyed. But yeah, this was just not it for me, I'm afraid. Sorry. Next is another popular one, and don't hate me, but I gave My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell 2 stars. This has been on my shelf for ages. It's been everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. And I think maybe the hype put me off it a little bit. Well, plus the content. So this essentially follows our main character, Vanessa. I had to click on the back to remember her name. It's called My Dark Vanessa. This is how well this video is going. Also, while I'm here, I apologise about the lighting. It's so dark outside. It's not late, but the weather is rubbish. And I need to film this today. Anyway, back to this. We follow Vanessa, and she is now in her 30s, I think, but when she was 15 and at school, she was basically groomed and sexually assaulted by her teacher. However, she didn't believe that, and she still doesn't believe that. In her mind, it was a consensual relationship, a genuine relationship. They were both in love. And in the present day, she has been contacted to see if she will come forward as a victim of the assault by the teacher, Mr. Strain, what's his first name? Jacob Strain, to see if she will come forward, because other girls have been brave and come forward and told their stories. But Vanessa, in her mind, why would she come forward? Because it was a relationship, he didn't do anything wrong. And we follow that timeline in the present day, and when she was 15 and went to school and this relationship started. I knew this wouldn't be a book that I would love. Love is not the right word, but like not enjoy either, because the content, like, it's not a nice topic. And I was really surprised at how graphically described the sex scenes were in this, and they were really, really uncomfortable for me to read. They were very disgusting, and there were quite a lot of them, and I really struggled with that. But the author didn't. I have to credit the author because she did an excellent job. She definitely achieved what she wanted to. Like, I've never read I've never really read a story based around a protagonist that's been through this and how they would deal with it. And I apologise if I'm wrong, but I think the author herself was a victim of sexual assault. Yeah, I've never read a book like it, and I have to credit the writing and how deeply like dived into the topic was and described, and the feelings of someone that's been through it and what she's going through. And the ending, like, it doesn't, in fact, I don't want to say anything about the ending, but like, it feels almost like a genuine experience of someone. And yeah, it's very well researched and very well written, but I didn't like it. I found it too uncomfortable to read. It just wasn't for me, and it took me such a long time, and by the end I skimmed the last 50 pages again because I just couldn't read it anymore. But yeah, it's not to discredit this book. I see why so many people love it, and the author's done an amazing job, but it just was not for me. Next we can go on to some more positive books, finally. So the first one is a novella that I read on Kindle, and that is Evidence of the Affair by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Taylor Jenkins Reid, I'm sure you probably know, but if you don't, she has written Daisy Jones and the Six, Malibu Rising, and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which are all absolutely incredible, all some of my favourite books of all time. And this is a novella, a short story she wrote. Not a novella, is it a novella? It's just a short story. I don't know what the difference is. That she wrote in 2018, I think, and essentially we follow our two main characters. They're a man and a woman. I'm terrible with names and I cannot remember their names, and it's written in letters to and from each other, based in the 70s. Yeah, based in the 70s. And the first letter is the lady writing to the man, basically saying, I found some letters in my husband's stuff and he's writing to your wife and it looks like they're having an affair. So that's what the short story is based upon, and it's the two of them writing to each other to come to terms with if this affair is a thing, the proof of it, how upset they are, how they're going to deal with it, etc. And I don't read short stories. This is probably like the first one I've read, and yeah, I gave it 4 stars because I cannot believe the emotion and character development that went into such a short story and how much I loved it. I can't say anything else other than that about the plot because it's so short. I would give other things away, but I loved it. I think it's free on Kindle Unlimited or Prime. I didn't pay for it, so one of those two. No, I didn't do anything illegal. Like, it's a free book. But yeah, I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. She's an absolute auto-buy author for me. I know her previous work, to the 3 I mentioned earlier, are slightly different, but I would still like to read them. But yeah, if you've not read any Taylor Jenkins Reid, this may be a good place to start before reading the other 3, but 4 stars, and I really loved it. Next is another 4-star read for me, and that was House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. It's a pretty short book, but this is like, this cover is chef's kiss, like, love it, love it. And this is like a YA fantasy, but not really. It's got like the magical elements and a bit of like gothic horror as well. And we follow our main character, Iris. She is one of 3 sisters that when they were younger, when they were little girls, they just disappeared on New Year's Eve. So in front of their parents, they were walking in front of their parents to watch the fireworks. Their parents literally just shared a brief kiss, and when they went and they turned back to the girls, they had disappeared. And then they appeared a month later. They appeared, but no one knows what they went. The girls have no recollection of where they went. And they kind of change a bit. They're not the same children they were when they disappeared. They come back and they're not quite the same. Their pupils have changed colour. I think their hair is like really white blonde. Is it white blonde? I literally read this not long ago, I can't remember. Anyway, and now they're like older. They're still quite young, but they're teenagers and adults. So Iris, our protagonist, is the youngest. And one day her older sister Grey goes missing, and Iris starts to notice weird things happening. Like already weird things happen around her and her sisters, but things become weirder when Grey goes missing. So her and her sister Vivi, sorry I couldn't remember her name, they kind of go on a mission to find her, and yeah, it's what happened to them and where's Grey gone. I really enjoyed this book. I flew through it. It's very fast paced, very creepy. Like for example, Iris is going for a run and like she looks up and there's a man kind of stood there in a bull mask, and yeah, it's with horns. Is that a bull? Horns? And yeah, I can't say anything else about the plot because it would spoil it. Again, it's a short, fast-paced book and I had no idea. I knew that they'd gone missing and come back, and I had no idea what else happened, and I don't really want to say too much. But this is really good. I really enjoyed it. It's different to anything I've read before. I really enjoyed the writing as well. I thought it was very well written. And yeah, if you're looking for something kind of gothic, mystery, creepy, bit of horror, with fantastical elements, then this may be for you. But check it out, it's really good. Next was my first book of the month, and that I finally read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Basically we follow our main character Addie. She made a deal with the gods after dark when she was younger. I say younger, that's not the right term. Back in the 1700s, because she was 23, being forced to marry someone she didn't want to marry, and she just didn't want to live that life anymore. So she wanted to get away from that life and made a deal with the gods after dark, who basically made sure she was forgotten by, she could live forever happily, but she's forgotten by everybody who she meets. So they will meet her, she'll have conversation with them, but as soon as she leaves the area they're in, they turn their back, they don't know who she is, they've got no recollection of who she is. Until one day in the present day, so she's lived like this for 300 years, she goes to a bookshop and the man there in the bookshop, he remembers her. So yeah, and we kind of flip between her over the last 300 years and in the present day with Henry, who remembers her and she cannot believe it. This is a very well loved book. I didn't love it, and I'm really surprised. I use Corpile by Gia Book Roast. I use her rating system, and this did come at 4 stars, and I find that rating system really good, so I trust it. This did come out as a 4 stars, which really surprised me because yes, it's beautifully written, and yes, it is. It's a very slow-paced, long book, but in a good way. I just didn't love it. I didn't. I didn't see the hype with it, but it came out 4 stars, so I enjoyed it. People say they cried, like I really wasn't that affected by the ending, which for a book this long and a very character-driven book is really surprising, and I cry a lot at books, so it was okay. Yeah, I can see why people love it, but I was really not that overwhelmed by it, I'm afraid. There we are. Okay, we're on to the last 2 books, and they are my favourites of the month. So this is a 4.5 star book, and that is I Let You Go by Claire McIntosh. I'd been told that this book will have a twist in it that I will not guess. I do read quite a lot of thrillers, not so much at the moment, so I was like, I will guess this. I will guess this. Everyone's saying, literally every review, everyone I spoke to about this book's like, you will not guess the plot twist. And so, not that I usually guess plot twists, but I was like, okay, there's going to be something in this I'm not going to see happening, but I'm going to try and work it out. And I did not. And the twist comes quite early on. So the first part of this book is kind of a story, character, environment development, and it is a bit slow, but get past that and I think, I don't know how far it is. It's not very far written. I think it's like about halfway. The twist comes and I literally was like, threw it across the room. I was like, no way. I did not see it coming. And then when I got to that part, yeah, I read it in 2 sittings. I could not put it down. Essentially, a young boy is holding his mother's hand and walking home from school, and she lets go of his hand very briefly to like get a hair at her face because the wind is not very nice, the weather's not very nice, and he is hit by a car and sadly killed. And it's a hit and run. The driver literally doesn't stop. He almost speeds up as they get to the child and drives off. And this is about finding the person that did that. And that is all I'm going to say. But if you love a thriller and one that you're not going to see coming and one you want to be hooked to, you will not be able to put this down. I highly recommend it. It was brilliant. Yeah, if you know the twist, don't say it, but comment if you like, were you shocked as well? Or if you end up reading this, please come back to the video and tell me if you saw the twist coming, because I loved it. It's my first Claire Mackintosh book. This is quite an old book. I think it was out in 2014. And since then, I've added every one of her books to my TBR because this was absolutely brilliant. And the final book, if you've read my... I have talked about this, but I can't think where. I can't think where I've talked about this. But anyway, this is my favourite book of the month and one of my probably favourite, it will feature in my favourites of the year, and that is When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. This is a piece of non-fiction and it's a memoir by Paul that was published sadly after he passed away. So Paul was had trained like 10 years to become a neurosurgeon. He was like doing exceptionally well. He was getting job offers from everywhere, and then his world kind of turned upside down when he was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. And this book, I was sobbing. I was absolutely sobbing by the end. It's just incredible, but it is obviously very triggering. So be aware that it does cover cancer. It also, he talks in detail about his job and like dealing with the patients and life and death and how he came into contact with it every day. And yeah, so the first part is kind of that, dealing with his job and looking into what he's doing and what he does. And the second part is kind of when he is diagnosed with cancer and how he comes to terms with that. Paul is an incredible writer. This book is very well written. It's very... He deals with death almost in a refreshing way. What I got from this is that he kind of wanted to write a book about something that's inevitable for all of us. We are all going to die. And he didn't want to be afraid or like sad about it. He wanted to like live his best life and not make it, try and portray death. It's not a scary thing. That's kind of how I took it. And he wanted to not put up a fight because he knew sadly he was going to die, but just not be beaten by death approaching him, if you know what I mean. He wanted to, like, he went back to work. He went back to work. That is incredible to me. And the end part of this is written by his wife after he died, and it's very beautiful, and this book is just beautiful and I loved it. I read it in one sitting. It's only a short book and I would highly, highly, highly recommend it if you're a lover of non-fiction, or even if you're not, because I'm not. Yeah, this book is excellent. I've talked a lot. There's been some good, there's been some bad, but that is my July wrap up. So yeah, let me know what you read in July. Anything good that I should read, anything bad that I should avoid. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought of them. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. As always, I would be very grateful if you could like this video, give it a I can never get this bit right. If you liked this video, if you could give it a big fat thumbs up, I'd be very grateful. And if you want to see more of my content, I would really, really be grateful if you could subscribe to my channel. Anyway, that is me done. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!